You like dragons? Imagine dragging these nuts across your forehead.
Welcome to the motherfucking lady. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, and now it's time for another installment of what is fast becoming one of the most popular segments here on the channel. Not the Ring IQ hate mail, but the Ring IQ mailbag. In my recent video detailing Sean Zatel's ambush journalism, you remember, at the presser for Canelo versus Crawford, and his more recent comments about this weekend's mega match between Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson. How Turkey may have put that fight together, but he's not the one who built those fighters. That's what he said, to which I queried, why burn bridges as a member of the media that you may need to cross later on by crossing Dana White, by crossing Turkey El Sheikh? To that, friend of the channel, Jason Bagwell, said, listen fellas, I'm a big fan of the channel and really appreciate your analysis and production schedule. You're a credit to the sport, but Sean Zatel was the only person brave enough to ask what everyone else wouldn't ask. And if asking a fair question about expensive sport-related legislation is ambush journalism, God help us as a country. Well, Jason, the point in asking a question is getting an answer, so it matters how you ask that question, when and where you ask that question. Because depending on how you do it, you may not get an answer, and Sean Zatel did not get an answer. Jason continued, Dana has done great things and created a sport I thoroughly enjoy, but he has grown soft. How dare someone ask him a non-softball question? Remove him. From Turkey, this is understandable. He comes from a country that doesn't tolerate many differences of opinion. Dana does not, but does his best to insulate himself from actual resistance. You're not understanding me, Jason. The point in asking a question is getting an answer, so it matters when and where you ask it and how you ask it, because you're not actually entitled to an answer. Nope. Moreover, what Sean Zatel quote-unquote asked Dana White seemed less like a question and more like a statement, an effort to put him on the spot and try to make him uncomfortable, try to make him look bad, which he did for all of 15 seconds. To which I queried, was it worth it? Because here's the reality of it. No matter how bad some people in the boxing media have been trying to make Dana White look, fighters are still signing to him. Managers and promoters are all lining up around the block to get fight dates on Zuffa, in spite of this effort to drag his name in the mud. Are you sure that's a bridge you want to burn? In spite of all the pearl clutching to the changes made to the Muhammad Ali Act to accommodate Dana White's boxing league. Are you sure that's a bridge you want to burn? Because it seems to me this is being done in the best interest of the fighters, but it's the fighters themselves that are signing to Dana White. It's the fighters, their managers, some promoters that are now working with Zuffa. So was it worth it for Sean to burn that bridge with Dana? You're advocating for the fighters, right, Sean? That's what this is all about. What's in the best interests of the fighters? All I'm saying is the fighters are the ones signing to him. They're just as aware of his reputation at the UFC as either I or you, and they're still signing to him. Their managers, the promoters, they're still funneling fighters over there in spite of all of this. If they're not worried about it, then why are you? As a member of the media, is it worth it to burn that bridge with Dana White when you may need to cross it? Dana White and Turkey El Sheikh in the not-so-distant future may become some of the gatekeepers of boxing, staging the events, keeping the fighters active and busy. There's a changing of the guard going on. In the subsequent 2 years that followed Showtime's departure from boxing, the PBC haven't landed on their feet. They haven't found a new broadcast partner that's going to put up the money for them that Showtime was putting up. Top Rank. In the subsequent months that followed their departure from ESPN, they haven't found a new broadcast partner either, the point I'm making. Don't forget about Golden Boy. They may be getting the boot off the zone. The landscape in America is changing, and boxing's gatekeepers. If you work as a member of the media in boxing, are you sure you want to burn bridges with them? Because that's what Turkey El Sheikh has become, and that is what Dana White via Zuffa Boxing is becoming. Do what? to advocate for the fighters? Buddy, the fighters are the ones signing to Zuffa. The managers. The boxing people themselves. All I'm saying, Jason, is I don't think it makes the least bit of sense to hang yourself out to dry, sticking your neck out for the fighters when the fighters themselves are the ones going over there, and they don't have to. It's not obligatory for anybody there now to box under the Zuffa banner. They choose to, and these are full-grown adults, so let's just put the violins away and can the Sally Struthers Act. That's all I'm saying. Men's junior middleweight news. Newly crowned unified junior middleweight champion Xander Zayas says, if Josh Kelly wants to get it on by the summer, I would like to invite him to Puerto Rico or New York for a unification match. So soon after unifying 2 titles, Xander Zayas is already targeting a third. All before Virgil Ortiz has boxed for 1 full title, anywhere in between 147 and 154. He's really making Virgil look bad because he's several years younger than Virgil Ortiz and already more accomplished as a fighter than Virgil Ortiz. And they were trying to A-side this guy before, trying to dictate terms to him, the location of the match and what the match pays, where I don't think they were in any position to do that before, much less now that Xander has not just 1 alphabet title, but 2 going on 3. 3 if he can get his hands on Josh Kelly. Slayed the Dragon this past weekend, took out the bogeyman Bakhram Murtazaliev, in effect becoming a champion himself. It was do or die for Josh Kelly, 31 years old. Put up or shut up. Now or never, and other colorful colloquialisms because he was getting on in age. He had never boxed for a full title at 147, and he had already spent a good number of years at 154, that it was about time to see what he's really made of. And he found out, upsetting the apple cart, beating the odds, beating Bakhram Murtazaliev. Can he also beat Xander Zayas? I'm not sure. Eddie Hearn, in the build-up of this past weekend's fight, said more than once that Josh Kelly had already agreed to box Boots Ennis if he beats Bakhram, which he did. Though immediately after beating Bakhram, Matchroom's Frank Smith also talked about a Conor Benn fight, a Josh Kelly versus Conor Benn fight. Thus, the idea that Josh Kelly would now travel to the United States, conceding home field advantage to unify titles with Xander Zayas, it doesn't seem likely. Though you could hardly begrudge Xander for trying, his appetite, his ambition. Wanting another belt to add to the collection, that's what he's supposed to do. That's what you want to see from a young fighter, a young champion. What would a fight between Xander and Josh Kelly look like? I'm really not sure, because they're both movers, they're both boxers, they're both cerebral. Xander's got more subtleties and bells and whistles to his game than a Bakhram Murtazaliev, to where Josh Kelly may have been able to out-hustle Bakhram, but I don't get the sense he can out-hustle Xander. He's more adaptable. Xander can fight on the front foot, fight on the back foot, fight on the inside, box from the outside. Can do more things. His recommendation that he could meet him in New York or Puerto Rico over the summer months tells me that's when Xander's going to return to action. That's when he's going to fight again. The question is, by the time he does, will Top Rank have inked a new broadcast deal with a new broadcast partner? Because Xander's fight was aired on their Top Rank Fast channel. On Tubi, on Roku, on Physio. Or is it Pluto? I forget, none of which are a substitute for the broadcaster they had in ESPN. For them, Xander's fight this past weekend was the only fight they announced for the new year, the only fight they had on the calendar. A good number of their fighters were in action over the weekend on somebody else's show, Shushu Carrington. Teofimo Lopez tenuously. I think he's still with Top Rank. Not sure about Keyshawn. If nothing else, we know that Xander Zayas still is. He's still with Top Rank. But if Top Rank's future is murky, what does that say about Xander's future? If he were to become a free agent in the not-so-distant future, I'm sure there are several promotional outfits out there who would be happy to have him. Some a better fit than others. Where should he go? I think If Top Rank is unable to land on their feet in the new year, and as a result Xander were to become a free agent, he should go to MVP.
Why?
The MVP already has strong ties to the island of Puerto Rico, the same as Xander Zayas. They already promote Puerto Rican royalty and Amanda Serrano, and several young, up-and-coming Puerto Rican fighters. Xander Zayas' youth, he'd be a good fit and a strong addition to their stable. It would be in keeping with the decorum. They can help each other. MVP may have fast become the flagship promoter for women boxers, but as far as men, they need more of them. They need male champions, and if they can get Xander over there, that would be good for them. What would be good for Xander is that MVP has broadcast relationships with both DAZN and Netflix, in effect enabling Xander to box on more than one platform. Oh, that MVP has a nuanced way of doing things, having their hands on the pulse of the youth, exposing the sport to a younger generation, making them the ideal destination for Xander Zayas if he were to become a free agent in the not-so-distant future. That's my first choice. My second choice would be Matchroom. It's the only international promoter out there that does shows in the United States, the United Kingdom, sometimes Monte Carlo, sometimes Australia, Mexico. The added exposure of boxing in exotic locations all around the world is something that Matchroom can provide. Years of experience in the industry would be my second choice. Ultimately, it looks like Xander expects to return to action over the summer months. The question is, what will the state of Top Rank be when he does? Will they still just be slugging along like they have been for months, or will they finally sort themselves out? We'll see. Elsewhere in a division, the official word on the street is that Sebastian Fundora will defend his WBC junior middleweight title against Keith Thurman on March 28th at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas and live on Amazon Video pay-per-view. I'll give the PBC credit for having at least one fight on the calendar, even if it's all the way out there at the end of March, really April. Even if it seems like a gargantuan waste of time for the defending champion Sebastian Fundora, who really does have bigger fish to fry than giving a has-been like Keith Thurman an opportunity that he didn't earn, that he doesn't deserve. Even if it doesn't do anything for Sebastian Fundora's profile as a defending champion, even if it doesn't make him that much money, and it won't, because how hot a ticket is Fundora versus Thurman, really? Thurman's been cold product for years. The night of, it will have been over a year's time since Keith Thurman's last fight with Brock Jarvis that took place in Australia, tells you everything you need to know that the only offer that was on the table for Keith to do anything was all the way out there. If he were a hot ticket here, well, he would have been able to bring Brock Jarvis here. Keith Thurman's entire career at this point seems an exercise in risk management. The only reason he only has one loss in the column is because he doesn't fight that often. And when he does, it ain't against anybody good, anybody world level. Since the Pacquiao loss, he's only been in the ring 2 times, against Mario Barrios and Brock Jarvis. And what about Sebastian? He's not much better. His entire career seems an exercise in risk management when you've dedicated this much of your time and prime years to boxing a has-been in Keith Thurman. Xander is out there. Josh Kelly is out there. Why are you wasting time on this? Because he lets other people do all his thinking for him. Samson Lukowicz will keep him in risk-averse fights for as long as he can. All the while, Sebastian is squandering his prime years. You only really get a small window of opportunity to make life-altering money in the sport of boxing, and to do that, you have to be willing to roll the dice. You have to be willing to take on fights where maybe you don't win, but at least you get paid. What are you going to get paid for boxing Keith Thurman? He's too old at this point to be on the passenger side of what is his own career. When are you going to start making some decisions? Or are you just happy letting others make decisions for you so you don't take the blame, so you don't take the heat? Sebastian is not a little boy. He's old enough that if he wants a specific fight, he can demand it. You don't work for Samson Lukowicz. He works for you. He's supposed to. In any event, they've officially rescheduled the fight I didn't think they were going to because it seems a massive waste of time, but Fundora versus Thurman is now set to go down March 28th at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, live on Amazon Prime pay-per-view. Finally, in men's heavyweight news, Tyson Fury's manager says Manchester United's Old Trafford is a possible destination for the Arslanbek Makhmudov comeback on April 11th, set to go down on Netflix. You have to wonder what that undercard is going to look like because it's not your typical Queensberry promotion show since Queensberry is not at the helm of the promotion. This is basically Turkey.
And Netflix.
Netflix's involvement in any boxing match increases its profile exponentially to where them just being involved and airing it makes it many times bigger than it would be on any other platform. Suddenly Fury's...
And his comeback was already a big deal, by the way. That was already going to be a big show.
But Netflix being involved makes it even bigger. Any show that Turkey does and all those slots on the undercard opens up big opportunities for any available fighter at the time.
Whoever's free.
Now, as far as the fight itself with Arslanbek Makhmudov, if Fury is even 75% or 65% of the fighter that he once was, then he should be able to win this one because Arslanbek Makhmudov, big and strong as he is, he's a lumbering lummox. He's a guy who had to go to hell and back for a win against Dave Allen. Arslanbek Makhmudov is not a world-level operator. He's not a world-class fighter.
At the very most, he's European level. You could give him that.
But he's big, and he's slow, cumbersome, not much punch selection there, outside of the straight 1-2.
Not much variety.
Committing to his punches as much as he does adds power to them, but simultaneously makes them less defensible, because if you miss, you're gonna get countered.
And in the heavyweight division, getting countered can be all she wrote.
Men that size, anywhere in between 6'4" to 6'7", anywhere in between 221 to 275, if they hit you with a punch that you don't see, could be lights out. Fury's a character. I think the sport of boxing has missed him, even if he irritates some of us.
Fury
still knows how to stir the pot, get people talking, and put on a show better than most others. I think the sport of boxing has missed Tyson Fury. I think, at least momentarily, the sport of boxing needs Tyson Fury and other flamboyant characters like him.
Fury.
I'm not a fan of him myself, but I can appreciate what he brings to the table and what he does for the sport. Now that he's coming back, it's not simply to get a win over Arslanbek Makhmudov. This comeback is intended to be a segue to something even bigger. Maybe a Fabio Wortley fight, or maybe an Anthony Joshua showdown that is still on the table. In spite of surviving that horrific car accident earlier this year, Anthony Joshua has not called it a career. He has not retired, and because he hasn't, the Fury fight is still a possibility.
Special emphasis on how Fury looks opposite the ring Arslanbek Makhmudov. That will tell the story. Makhmudov's been stopped before.
It'd be encouraging for what remains of Tyson Fury's career if he can manage a stoppage in his big comeback fight, because this guy has been stopped before.
It sends the right message.
You often hear it said that heavyweights have a bit more longevity than the fighters at the lower weights, who are more reliant on speed and reflexes. The heavyweights are too.
Though not as much.
Because your average heavyweight isn't all that fast or coordinated to begin with. So you can get a little bit more life out of a fighter's career at heavyweight.
And that size.
In a very general sense, there are not that many slicksters or speedsters in the heavyweight division. You don't need to be the fastest, and so Tyson Fury has once again unretired, and Old Trafford may be the site of his big comeback. We'll see.